The Australian summer. Time for catching up with friends, barbecues and the beach. Or if you're not at the beach, the pool. Just not this one though. When it closed in February 2021, the original estimate was that it would be ready by the end of summer 2023 and only cost $64 million. Well, it's now January 2025, the fifth test against India has nearly finished, the pool is still a hole in the ground, and the expected cost is now $122 million. This cost blowout is one of the reasons why North Sydney Council is currently exploring a special rate variation, or SRV. There are 4 options on the table, of which the cumulative increase over 3 years is anywhere between 65.38% and 111.2%. In the background provided in relation to the SRV notice, the Council identifies 3 primary reasons as to why they are looking at raising rates in such a manner. These are 1. Increased costs of the North Sydney Olympic Pool redevelopment, 2. Reductions in other sources of revenues, and 3. Rising infrastructure backlogs. Before continuing, and in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a resident and ratepayer in the North Sydney Council area. Whilst I think this is an interesting accounting issue, any rate hike will impact me directly. Now, during some light summer reading of Council's financial statements, an item attached at the end caught my eye, specifically the report on infrastructure assets. Turns out every local council includes this report, and it is worth looking at what it contains. On the first page, for each infrastructure asset class, for example buildings, roads, stormwater drainage, the following items are included. The estimated cost to bring assets to satisfactory standard, the estimated cost to bring to the agreed level of service set by council, required maintenance in that current financial year, actual maintenance in that financial year, net carrying amount, and the gross replacement cost. In addition, each asset class and category, the assets in condition are listed as a percentage of gross replacement cost. These range from 1, which is excellent, to 5, very poor. For example, for North Sydney, as at the 30th of June 2024, there are infrastructure assets with a net carrying amount of $1.02 billion, a gross replacement cost of $1.58 billion, and with estimated costs to bring to a satisfactory standard, $146.8 million. In terms of asset condition, 29.1% are rated excellent, 35.3% are rated good, 26.3% satisfactory, 6.4% poor, and 2.9% very poor. On the second page of the report, there are a number of ratios. The key one here is the infrastructure backlog ratio, which is the estimated cost to bring assets to a satisfactory standard divided by the net carrying amount of infrastructure assets. In this case, it's 146.8 million divided by 1.2 billion to give an indicator of 13.11%. This is about the same as for 2023 and up from 2022. Importantly, it is significantly higher than the 2% benchmark rate, which is set for all local councils. To determine the cost figure, there is a note at the bottom of this page which indicates that Council has elected to use the estimated cost of fully renewing all infrastructure assets assessed to be Category 4 and 5 as the estimated cost to bring assets to a satisfactory standards. Now bear with me because this will all make sense in a few moments' time. If we go back to the first page, we can see how this works. Going to the total assets line and adding the percentages for poor and very poor, we get 9.3%. Multiply this by 1.58 billion, gives us an estimated cost required of 146.5 million. Look, it's not quite the figure provided, but it's close and likely due to rounding errors along the way. So far, this seems all fair enough, until something on the second page caught my eye. The 2023 and 2022 figures have been restated, but restated from what and how? Nothing in the 23-24 financial statements answered that, so I turned to the 22-23 financials. And lo and behold, the backlog ratio for 23 isn't 13.11%, but only 3.1%. So what's going on? Well, when reading the note at the bottom here, it becomes clear. They changed the definition of what gets included. Specifically, as there is no standard industry practice for identifying the estimated cost to bring assets to a satisfactory standard, Council has elected to use the cost of fully renewing infrastructure assets assessed to be in Category 5 as the estimated cost to bring assets to a satisfactory standard. For the years up to and including 2023, North Sydney Council only included the assets assessed in the lowest quality category as to that which needs to be brought up to a satisfactory standard. In 2024, they broadened the definition to capture those in the second lowest category. If the old definition had continued to be used in 2024, the estimated costs, as far as I've calculated, would have been 45.7 million, not 146.8 million. This change has increased the perceived size of the problem by over $100 million. Now look, on the face of it, that doesn't seem great. But as the note in 2023 suggests, there is no standard practice. Maybe North Sydney Council had the definition too tight as compared to other councils and have rectified this issue in 2024. Painful, but it is what it is. To try and answer that question, I went and looked at the other metro councils in Sydney and was able to get hold of the latest financials for 28 of the other 32 councils. Not a single one of them explicitly defines this estimated cost figure. But that's okay, because we can reverse engineer what they do by looking at what their dollar estimates are and divide it by the gross replacement cost. If they use a similar approach to North Sydney, this figure should be equivalent to the sum of their Category 4 and Category 5 assets. For the aggregated 28 councils, of which North Sydney is not included, the estimated cost to bring assets to satisfactory standard is $1.2 billion. The gross replacement value is $47.7 billion. This means the sum of assets in Category 4 and 5 should be 2.58%. However, the actual aggregate sum is 5.8%. What this means is that on average, North Sydney Council use an estimate which is over double that as compared to other Sydney Metro councils. To visually represent each council, I calculated what the estimated cost would have been using the North Sydney definition and divided it by their actual estimate. There are a couple of observations from this figure. Camden is the council with the highest ratio, and this ratio is greater than North Sydney. They are the one council estimating costs at a higher rate than North Sydney Council. Now this seems to be heavily driven by their incredibly low percentage of Category 4 and 5 assets. It's less than 1%. North Sydney has a ratio of 1, which would be by definition. This is significantly greater than all councils other than Camden. Fairfield is the closest council at 0.67. This isn't to say that there aren't good reasons to upgrade the infrastructure of North Sydney, nor for the change in definition. But it's important that North Sydney Council be transparent that this $146.8 million figure has, in large part, come to being due to a change in definition. A change with, as far as I can calculate, a $100 million impact. This definition also seems to be far from standard practice anywhere in other Sydney councils. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the North Sydney SRV. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what North Sydney Council are doing here. Is a rate variation the only path forward? Should they better disclose the change in definition? Do you think the pool will be open by summer 26-27? Don't forget that the consultation period is open until January 10. Cheers.